Welcome to NutriRebel Red Pill Edition, where we try to reach neglected demographics, and there are many of those around the world, especially men out there. I've seen them in the MGTOW realm. Oh my goodness gracious, online. You should see some of these guys. Anyway, it's trying to provide solutions. There aren't many in that realm, and I've witnessed it over many years. Anyway, today we're going to be speaking about hair tissue mineral analysis, heavy metals in your body, which it's all around us, and how to mitigate these things. And it's a lot more simpler than you think. But most people simply if it isn't broke, don't fix it, and wait until you get sick. And they'll say you don't live forever. I say no, we don't live. We may not live forever. However, the pain will feel like it lasts forever when you get sick, and you don't die suddenly. Most people don't die suddenly. Most people have a slow, agonizing death. It's called life, and when you get sick on the medical system treadmill, you don't want to be there. I've already been there. Anyway, here's the video.
Mismanaging your minerals is really the recipe for developing dementia and really neurodegenerative disorders of all kinds. So
most people are really not aware of the degree to which that minerals and metals control neurotransmission and yes, therefore how you think and your behavior and your perception.
Yeah.
Even certainly, I think just as you alluded to, there's a lot of literature highlighting how
most people wait to get overt signs of behavior or overt signs of sickness. They don't realize there's a big gray area in between. It's usually slow, and you just get used to it. You don't notice it. You think it's aging.
Dyshomeostasis with the minerals and certainly bioaccumulation of the metals leads directly to these different neurodegenerative diseases that we're seeing sort of exponentially spiral out of control in the last 30 to 50 years. So
the entire world seems to be losing its mind. Yes.
Yeah. Collectively, the world is losing its mind. And
why?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So what's the reason for this?
But tell me if I'm wrong here. Did you not go to lots of other alternative practitioners and try tons of other things?
Like many people do.
Yeah,
I was there.
Nutrient deficiencies are the underlying cause of so many illnesses and symptoms.
Yep.
And chances are you are walking around with undiagnosed deficiencies. The first thing you need to know is that blood work doesn't work.
Yep.
The reason for this is that nutrients are stored in the tissue, not in the blood. For example, less than 1% of magnesium is actually found in your blood. 99% are in the bones, teeth, and soft tissue.
Tons of money on supplements and
Yeah. So there you can hear the frustration.
Procedures and things and gadgets and gizmos and treatment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I went through the medical system and realized that I was actually getting worse on medications for anxiety and depression, and then that sort of set me off on this journey of looking for something different to deal with those problems. And I went through probably over $50,000 worth of practitioners, systems, programs.
That shows you, his testimony shows you the frustration and the catastrophe that awaits you if you don't take action. And this is nutritional symptomatology. This is what I use. And many people don't even know what that is. The first benefit is that nutritional symptomatology it's a low cost or free option rather than HTMA, which is hair tissue mineral analysis, and other tests that have a moderate upfront cost that most people for most people. And symptomatology is much more beneficial. It's a much more beneficial triage method to determining an overall cell nutritional status and organ function, rather than a singular method like HTMA and others. This is really confusing to many people, but many individuals fail to connect habits such as social drinking and coffee consumption with visible signs of health issues like wrinkles on the face, dark circles under the eyes, white spots on nails, and numerous other subtle indicators that we don't think are scientific, but they are. It's similar to a plant. A botanist would look at the plant. If the leaves are fading or wrinkled, why do you think that is? Instead, many people often attribute these signs of natural aging process or view them as isolated incidents. They tend to regard these symptoms as simply normal and and overlook their relationship with the snapshot in time, blood serum results, and other assessments commonly used in Western medical practices, like you saw in the video before. For example, while X-rays can detect physical damage to an organ that appears normal on an X-ray may still be functioning poorly due to nutritional deficiencies, okay? Similarly, a blood test might yield normal results based on specific lab parameters, which can vary by demographics. There's many different ways that they determine what is normal or not, but how do you know if it's normal for you? But these results may not reflect your individual health, especially when compared to other countries. Researchers have identified the researchers that have formulated nutritional symptomatology measurements. They identified specific changes in the body that indicate either deficiency or an excess of certain nutrients or toxins. By interpreting this body language, we can effectively pinpoint imbalances in vitamins, minerals, proteins, and other vital components. This approach, known as nutritional symptomatology, emphasizes the importance of understanding physical signs to uncover the root causes of these nutritional imbalances. And best of all, it's low cost or free. I actually try to educate you, show you the connections, and I actually send you the literature so you can try to do this yourself. It's just, it's crazy. I wish I knew this years ago.
There's never just actually one mechanism with metals and what they can cause, right?
Yeah.
But there's these different feedback loops and all these different mechanisms that can sort of co-occur. And this is where things get really interesting because then you see like these additive or synergistic effects coming from the metals.
Yep.
And so it's there's a lot of different points of contact in the body where the metals can exert either direct or indirect effects. The metals themselves are what we call estrogen mimics.
Mm-hmm.
So they can actually stimulate estrogen on the estrogen receptors, and then you end up with higher circulating levels of estrogen in the body, and this can cause issues in sort of like a indirect fashion. Wherein
this has actually led. Sorry, finish your thought, and then I'll dive into something else.
So there's like, you can think about this in two different ways. There's direct effects that metals have in the brain when they get actually localized in the brain tissue. But then there's indirect effects. Let's say if metals get in the adrenal glands or your kidneys, and they can cause problems or excess estrogen, which then get sort of sent into the brain, and elevated levels of estrogen in the brain coming from that cause can affect dopamine and serotonin, and progesterone. Also, like progesterone deficiency can affect GABA neurotransmission as well. So there's so I definitely went through the medical system and tried to reconcile these issues using that approach, and that failed. And then I went through the alternative medical system as well. And that kind of, their paradigm is very similar to traditional medicine in that instead of, you still have whatever disorder that you have, but instead of giving medications, toxic medications, they're just giving you supplements in kind of a random way. And so I kind of went through that rigmarole for many people years as well.
It's not targeted.
Over time, after having been on a program for a while, I noticed like complete reversals and changes in symptoms and conditions that I had.
HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis, and nutritional symptomatology. Nutritional symptomatology should be the mainstay or the triage method of before you go to HTMA or others, because HTMA, live blood cell analysis, standard serum measurements at the doctor's office are all help form a complete picture, but they should not be used by themselves.
And had been diagnosed with total reversals of almost everything that I was dealing with, but especially the panic and the anxiety and the depression. Sort of disappeared after I went through some metal eliminations, in particular lead, copper, and nickel. And that's kind of where I think maybe we can go with this a little bit. But a lot of mental health conditions and disorders nowadays are simply the result of these mineral imbalances and then heavy metal bioaccumulation that can co-occur at that same time.
The team said, you're more focused, you're more on task, you're more organized, you're more down to earth. It's not like I was not a high functioning person, but for me, this unlocked a level of ability that had eluded me. No matter how smart my prior mentors were, no matter how much they knew or thought they knew, no matter how many tests I'd done. So metals are more than just these things that are problematic when you're exposed to them in large doses.
Yeah.
Small exposures over time change the course of your life.
The reason why lead was removed from the gasoline in the 1970s and 80s is because a couple of very important researchers by the name of Landrigan and Grandjean discovered the subclinical neurodevelopmental effects on children and lead. And this is where things sort of started down this road, where we really started to notice and pay attention to these subclinical effects that occur with metals. Oftentimes with heavy metal toxicity, you'll see like mental health conditions manifest first.
Yep.
Like before you end up with a full-blown neurological disorder,
The brain is first affected. Yeah.
So the brain can sometimes act as sort of like a harbinger of things to come, specifically through this lens of like how you think. Mental health.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. So hair tissue mineral analysis is the best way to assess for mineral and heavy metal status and the status of the whole mineral system. Why are minerals so powerful in this? It's because minerals are what we call pleiotropic. They have effects throughout the system. They're critical for hormone regulation, neurotransmission, protein synthesis, energy production, detoxification, healing, immunity, metabolism, basically all of life. But all of these things are going to determine how you think, how you feel, and how you function. And that's really what mental health and well-being are. So, of course, when minerals are imbalanced and these processes are impaired, people feel sick. They get dumbed down, and they feel anxious, depressed. They get essentially driven crazy. But it's really important for people to understand this because many people.
Yeah, I would say HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis, is a great way to find out toxicities in your body. However, like I said, I would say it's probably not a good first way to start. And it's at a higher than when people see prices, they tend to get turned off. They're like, oh, I don't know how effective this is. I was in the same boat.
People come into mineral balancing and they think, well, look, I eat organic food. I live a healthy lifestyle. I have a sauna. And what do you mean I have heavy metals? Well, you can be exposed to these tiny concentrations of these metals over time. I mean, Clark, I'm really curious. In your case, you came into this. Did you think, well, I'm not like a manganese miner and I'm not a lead smelter and I don't, practice metallurgy as a hobby? What do you mean I have metal exposures, right? But you and I can both attest to the fact that countless people, normal, regular, everyday, walking around on the street, you wouldn't know them from anybody else, except maybe from their abnormal behavior. How toxic is mercury, say, which is, I think, arguably the most toxic metal, compared to, say, glyphosate, right? And there's actually no comparison.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So not even close.
You have to be exposed to huge quantities of glyphosate. In fact, when people commit suicide with organic chlorine, organophosphate pesticides, they douse themselves in this stuff. Douse them.
One neglected factor, numerous studies indicate that administering generalized supplements commonly referred to as antioxidants to humans or animals with the belief that neutralizing oxidative stress will extend lifespan is ineffective. Why is it ineffective? It's because these studies consistently demonstrate that taking antioxidant supplements in the form of pills or powders does not lead to increased longevity. Why? This is crucial to understand because these supplements fail to address the entire mineral system within the body and do not eliminate the toxic metal burden the individuals have accumulated. They also do not adequately support essential processes like methylation and cellular detoxification, which require a proper balance of minerals and vitamins. That explains the lack of positive outcomes. And there's 3 steps to detoxification most people don't know. That's just another buzzword, detox buzzword. Anyway, that's another story. This highlights a significant point that unbound metals and minerals account for 99% of oxidative stress, making it essential to manage the elements to to optimal health and vitality. Additionally, it's important for people to recognize that their mental well-being and brain function are not solely linked to hormones. Many women experiencing menopause symptoms report issues like brain fog, whilst men with low testosterone levels often face anxiety, depression, fatigue, cognitive difficulties, insomnia, and vertigo. All these hormone-related problems can also stem from the presence of metals, toxic metals in the body, or imbalanced naturally occurring ones as well. Iron overload is significantly contributes to both andropause and menopause. Andropause is the male menopause, basically. It's not really talked about much. Andropause is characterized by decreasing testosterone levels, and there's different forms of testosterone, like free testosterone and total testosterone. Many people think it's just one. I said no. While menopause involves a decline or cessation of ovarian hormones in women, toxic metals act as endocrine disruptors, as he spoke about, as the two guys in the Dr. Stillman spoke about, interfering with hormone function. As these metals disrupt hormone balance, the effectiveness of these hormones diminishes, even if you take the hormone exogenously. Additionally, heavy metals can induce stress, which may result in a reduced adrenal function. Adrenal glands, yeah. Research in animal models show that this stress response can lead to the depletion of adrenal reserves, a phenomenon that commonly occurs in humans, although ethical concerns prevent such studies. This is the reason why it's primarily conducted on animals, right? I frequently observe these effects in testing with participants and clients I have.
Cells and the stuff, huge quantities.
Yeah.
With mercury, there's cases of researchers getting 1 or 2 drops of a very fast absorbed mercury on their skin and dying within a matter of hours.
Yep. Yeah. There's cases in the literature as well showing like what a fatal dose is of like cadmium. And to give you an idea, most people's daily requirement for magnesium is 450 milligrams, and you can get that in a very small pill, right? A fatal dose of cadmium ingested orally is 350 milligrams.
Cadmium is everywhere.
Less than you would get normally for your daily requirement of magnesium.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how toxic cadmium is. And
if somebody were to publish a study and say, oh, we've found high levels of copper in all the brains of the people with depression, that would be headline news. That would be everywhere. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
You have to read this literature and look at hair and take care of patients or clients and practice this in order to start to see how it all fits together, because it's definitely not obvious. And often what we see more are imbalances. So one of the things that you'll find most robustly in the literature supported is that copper zinc ratio abnormalities go along with certain mental disorders.
Yep. Therefore, the key takeaways are here that HTMA is often being advertised by many practitioners. However, they neglect the fact that nutritional symptomatology is the very low cost or free method, and and you can even try to understand it. The learning curve is not very high. I even try, practitioners like myself attempt to point you to the directions, and in the personalized recommendation, I show you the connections between all of these factors and more than what they speak about. Anyway, if you are interested in this, please go to the link on the side there, and you'll be able to take a free, no obligation symptom measure tool. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe, because this stuff is amazing.